part of our conditioning, and physics for a long time has taken that and applied it to the real world, not realizing, hang on, it works very differently. This makes a lot of sense. Yes,
Yes.
Mass is something that appears through that energy coming and going.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I must follow that up. Thank you.
yeah, definitely. I can send you that link if you're interested, and you can read it yourself more with detail, as it were. But the question that arises, this thing about returning to the idea of reality, then, because to me that means that there really, potentially at least, isn't such a thing as a kind of objective reality, but at least from our own point of view, from our individual point of view, there can only be that kind of subjective interpretation, if you will, of reality. So the question is, do we make a lot of stuff up, in the world that people don't see, and because that's a pretty, interesting thought, if you will, that there really is potentially nothing as an objective reality as such. What do you think about that?
Yes, I think it's a question of words here. I mean, as I said earlier, I think there is a reality out there which we call objective reality, and that reality is composed, as you're talking about, quarks and gluons interacting, gluons coming in and out of existence. There's a reality there we're beginning to understand, but that is nothing like the reality we live in. So the reality we know is the construct in the mind that we live in.
Yes.
And the two have a relationship. If the reality out there changes, if a certain configurations of gluons and quarks and things change, then that creates something different in the physical world, and we see that differently. So, if all the atoms in a blade of grass change and it changes its color and dies, we see that, we experience it. So our experience is related to this external world, but the two are very different in nature. So my feeling is, it's not to say there is no objective reality, but we can never know it. Never actually know what it's like. We can think about it, but we never experience it directly. All we ever experience is the reality that appears in our mind.
How about, I'll sorry to cut you off there, continue.
No, go on.
Okay, I just wanted to ask, do you think that a tool or an instrument or a device will be able to read it, or do you think that that's is still kind of under the, I don't know how to phrase this, our perception or our consciousness, meaning that if we look at the instrument that is looking at reality, we're still having that filter between ourselves and reality, so to speak?
Yes, I think there'll always be that filter. We can develop very sophisticated microscopes. We have microscopes now that can see individual atoms, or they can detect individual atoms. But again, all that we know is we take the data coming from that instrument, and then we see a picture or something.
Yes.
So I think there's always that filter, and I think it's inevitable. That's always going to be the way it is.
Yes. You had a pretty interesting theory, I guess, or idea about the nature of light. I saw this primacy of consciousness, a little bit of a clip that you have available on your website, and you talked a little bit about, I guess, the nature or actually what light is. Maybe you can just briefly talk about that.
Yes, and also before I forget to mention my website, one thing I should say for European audiences, there's two letter L's on the end of Russell. Often Europeans spell Russell with one L, but if you do that, you go to a different website. So it's Peter Russell with two L's at the end.
Okay, yes.
Otherwise people end up somewhere strange and think, what? Who is this guy?
Right.
But yes, there's a whole piece on light, and it's in my book, From Science to God, as well. And this comes out of something I was fascinated by when I was studying physics years ago. And one of my great interests was Einstein's theory of relativity. And what the theory of relativity predicts, and it's been shown to be true, even though it doesn't feel like common sense. And this is what's interesting, is often when we get down to the real nature, it's not like common sense. Common sense is what applies to our experience. That as you go faster, as things travel faster, they both get heavier, their mass increases, and secondly, their experience of distance shortens, but thirdly, time begins to slow down. something that's traveling very fast past me, if I observe its clocks are going much slower than mine. And the theory of relativity predicts that if anybody ever traveled at the speed of light, that time would stop completely. Now, people say you don't have to worry about that because we can never travel at the speed of light, which is true because our mass would become infinite at the speed of light. But nevertheless, the theory predicts anything traveling at the speed of light, there would be no time and it would appear to travel no distance. Now, light, by definition, travels at the speed of light. It is the speed of light. So we could say from light's point of view, and this is what physicists talk about, is how does the universe look from different points of view? From light's point of view, there is no time. It lives in a timeless realm, so to speak, and there is no distance. It doesn't actually travel anywhere. It's a point of interaction between 2 points in the universe. And I found this fascinating from 2 perspectives. One, there's a lot of talk in physics about, is light a wave or a particle?
Yes.
So from our point of view, we're saying, how does light get from A to B? Does it travel as a wave? Does it travel as a particle? And sometimes it seems to be one, sometimes neither, sometimes the other. If you look at it from light's point of view, which probably is the only way we should really look at light, it doesn't travel anywhere, it doesn't take any time, it doesn't need to be either a wave or a particle. It's just a transfer of energy. A direct, immediate transfer. But from our point of view, we see there's time involved, we see space involved. So I think that's one thing that comes out of it, is a whole new understanding of what light is, when we realize that light lives beyond time and space.
Yes.
And the other thing that really fascinated me by this was the relationship between light in the physical world and the fact we use light to talk about consciousness. We talk about the light of consciousness.
Yes.
We talk about the inner light. If someone's unconscious, we say the light went out, or we have an inspiration. I had a flash of inspiration. I saw the light. And if we the way I was talking about consciousness at the beginning of the program, like the light that's in the projector, the light that's always there, the light in our mind. A similar thing happens when you just come down to pure consciousness. And this is what happens in techniques of meditation and other things. When the mind becomes very, very still, there is nothing happening. There are no thoughts, but you are still aware, you're still awake, but the mind is very still. Then you enter what many of the mystics call this sort of timeless, eternal realm, where time seems to just disappear. And also your sense of space tends to disappear. And it just struck me, there's a very interesting parallel here between light in physics and light in the mind, that both seem to have this element of time not being real. Time somehow seems to be a creation in the material world. It implies that time is not the absolute that we tend to think it is.
That's very interesting. And okay, so we'll take a short pause here in a little bit then. But before we continue, I want to that you mention your website, and you can give us the right spelling so people don't go to the wrong place, so to speak. And also mention a few of your titles and DVDs that you have available on your site.
Yes. Well, the website is just my name, peterrussell.com, which is PETER, then RUSSELL.com. So it's just peterrussell.com. My books, the one you mentioned, the most recent one, is From Science to God, where I look at a lot of the questions we started out with, how do we explain consciousness and the problems that science has with explaining how consciousness comes out of the brain, and then it goes into more of what we'll probably come on to talking about later, which is how do we awaken consciousness. And it's partly my own journey from someone who's interested in physics only to someone who starts getting much more interested in these ideas. before that was called Waking Up in Time, which is much more about the evolutionary picture we talked about, how we got here, but also about the acceleration of evolution, how things are going faster and faster and faster, and where that's taking us. And then the book, which I'm probably actually most well known for, is The Global Brain, which I wrote about 25 years ago.
That long ago?
25 years ago, just 25th anniversary, which was, it was written before the internet really existed, and I was seeing how the internet would come into being and how it would start linking us together into this planetary culture, and looking at what that meant for the planet as a whole. It brings in the whole idea of Gaia as a living organism, and again touches on the shifts in consciousness that we're being asked to make as we move into this whole new world. And I've written some other books on meditation and things. You can find them all on the website. And my DVDs, there's a DVD of The Global Brain, which you can watch a version on the website. There's another one called The White Hole in Time, which is similar to Waking Up in Time. It was the original title, and that is that's a video around the acceleration. And I've got CDs there, audio tapes, audio MP3s you can listen to on meditation, because one of the things I like to do is teach meditation as a way of helping the mind settle down. And so there's various meditations on the website.
So again, peterrussell.com. I will have this linked up, of course, on redicecreations.com, so you can go over to Peter's website and check out some of the material that he has up there for you. And in our next segment here, I do want to talk more about then how we can become more conscious, or how we awaken consciousness, and also this will definitely get us into some of the material about meditation and so forth. And if there's time, and if you want to go there, of course, Peter, I'd love to briefly talk about the global brain a little bit, because I think that's really interesting. So so stay with us here, Peter. We'll take a short break, and we'll continue shortly.
Okay.
Thank you. Stay tuned. In our members section, we're going to talk more about how to awaken consciousness, how to be more present, observant, and in the moment. We're also going to get into Peter's fascinating theory about the global brain. This has to do with the growth of the internet and the number of people currently on the planet. The question is if this is creating a new awareness. And how about the more scary areas of the brain-computer interfaces? If we all go along with that kind of stuff, will it be another form of escape, another illusion that will immerse ourselves in, or can we learn and grow from that kind of technology? redicecreations.com is our website. Go there for more information on how to join us in the member section. I also want to mention, of course, that Architects of Control is now out. Program 1, Mass Control and the Future of Mankind. We're very pleased to announce that the DVD is now available. And this is produced by Red Ice Creations, Michael Tessarion and Blue Fire Film. You can get your copy today at architectsofcontrol.com. More coming up now with Peter Russell.